Today I have reading computer magazines, and it was very sad because I um, I lost the phrase and I can find it. And the phrase is about asynchronous transfer mode, and is similar to the phrase of the marks in the sun on the sun. And we're realizing that fever replaces hippie because fever is better. And also that if I try to find the phrase in page 75, IBM appears because 75 is the graduation of high school year. And it's very important for me to understand at least one of the articles of the hundreds of articles that I in the diary read, because I read more or less 100 articles day by day. I don't understand completely at least one. And it has been passed during the last 5-7 years, or 20 years. I remember that the last article of IEEE that I understand was the first magazine that I read. I understand completely the first magazine. I don't understand completely, but when I was reading, I remember that I could read an article. But after this, hippie was replaced by fever, remember, and I entered to a lab, laser lab, and in that time I translate reading the fiber optic article, and that boyfriend make a work kind of work with this translation, because there was some numbers about the connection of the fiber optic, the mode of the connections, the wavelengths, optimal, and remember that in that there were 3 laboratories where I used in that time to be present in the laser and the other laboratories. And in that laboratories I study the works, the things that I used to research in that time about optics, circuits, switching circuits by myself. And the people of the laboratory led me to research the things, and sometimes I used to listen what they were doing, or be present at some experimental work that they did. And remember that when the other boy graduated, we were in a group in the graduation and drinks. I remember that day all my sisters were present in my graduation, but it was in the same laboratory that the graduation of the boy. And the certain thing is that when one of us graduate, sometimes my mother advised me to put something in their heads, gave me that guidelines to make an arrange with leaves, with leaves, with falling leaves of the trees or some special plant to indicate glory or triumph, put it over the head. And I remember that I follow these guidelines, and in the meantime I was researching computers process of memory EPROMs, programming EPROMs, and electronic controlling of LEDs. It was 82, 1982, 1983. And I remember that in my research I discovered that the LEDs were very easy to control with digital signals, and that it could be improved in the following years, and that pupils were very interested in controlling LEDs because were very important for signaling and alarms and so on, indicators. And pupils were very encouraged to do some experience because the pupils could buy these LEDs by a few coins. That times were cheap. And in the future research, the times of controlling were shorter, to control LEDs, to power on. And then I began to be interested in modeling the response of visual systems with stimulations of LEDs. And had to design some stimulus, but that it was more or less easy for me because I have been present in many experiences of the different laboratories of electronic department and physics department. But the most difficult were the psychophysical tests because it depends of the diverse factors and artifacts were always present. But the real thing was that after the LEDs, the fiber optic came, and so on. First the indicators LEDs, after the modeling of visual system with LEDs as a stimulus, and after the communication with fiber optics and the laser, the detection of laser, but it was only very few time about laser, was a short experience. But with fiber optic I have more experience um, because in circuits there were laboratory that were interested in the IEEE had conference about fiber optic, and I was very interested because the conference explained that in airplanes there were use and different things about fiber optic. It was in the 1983, 84, I don't remember in that time. And after the fiber optic, I was interested in visual laboratories, and then visit a laboratory of Uriburu Street in front of the Social University Faculty, the Institute of Vision, where people used to correct their visions abnormalities with operations or some medical assistance. And then in that, if there were someone to direct my own director, and people answer me that perhaps in the university I can find her, but didn't believe it. Then I went to the university and didn't find some persons, but I didn't know them. But the fact was that when they told me that since they communicate me other tricks, then I began to make exercise with the vision. And that people told me that I have to train some exercise, but I don't understand well. But I began to work on myself, on my vision. And after lesion I had in my right eye, it appears to me to see um, a little person, very little, of 1 millimeter, that was greeting me, a green person with black eye. And that little person, I didn't know if was in my eye or if it was in the mirror of that I was, because the medical assistant was observing the lesions that I have in the eye, and in that time I can observe what has happened to me. And after that, the things that there was a change in the earth that day, remember, because there was an asteroid that passed very near for the earth. And remember that it was impossible to me to know how all the things had passed. And it was very quickly that Wolfen had been very crazy that days because I got the legal divorce from my first husband. And don't know why he got crazy and began to run for the house, and finally he began to be very crazy with me, and I don't know what was happening because he did the things very quickly, and he ran from the house, and I wanted to get out of the house, but I couldn't. And that time I used to go to bed when he began to get crazy, because when I went to bed, he he stopped of doing that thing. But that time I went to bed to stop that crazy thing, and it was worse because he came after me and hurt my face with his hand. And in that moment, someone came to the house. But he was not angry. He seems to be very funny, very glad doing what he was doing. That it was a party, a thing that he enjoyed very much. And when the persons come, he went out of the house. And then I stand up and look at the mirror that has something that was very rare in my face. And after he took a knife, a very big knife, and showed it to me, hiding it in his body. And I never understood what he wanted to do that day. But the real thing was that all the things was about visual system, and I didn't know he was teaching me something, but was related with the divorce of my first husband. And after that day, that was in August, I went to the medical assistants to check the heart that I had in my eye. And in that opportunity, I can see the little green person hanging from one mirror, or I don't know what it was. And since that time, there was a change in my visual system, and I began to see the things with with uh, with a different vision. And the woman and the child that came that day looked at me and followed and went out. And I remember that I after people told me that it was very common, because I didn't know that it was a legal thing or a common thing, because sometimes um, men are used to that for women, and that women led men to do that. And people explained me that it was more or less common. And I couldn't understand why um, people were so had found that solution to the problem. Because sometimes there are persons that are difficult to uh, to oblige to do some things, to have a husband or to have determined things. And then it's not pacific means. And then I began to be suspicious that we were in a special of a battle or war. And then I remember that all the research about visual systems always have some interruption of that kind, because I remember that the woman that was at the laboratory had the same problem with a man, because sometimes she came into the institute with her face after many times of not coming, because she says that she was making some change in her eyes, and that it was good for receiving the money for research. And I remember that when we make models or visual systems in psychophysical tests, all the things have to be in account. Well, this kind of behavior was common until I had the phone. But sometimes the phone is not in my hand, and I have to have the phone always in my hand and with battery, with energy. Because sometimes um, it appears that that common things began to appear, and then quickly I took my phone, my LG phone with camera,